Do you guys like watching movies? Well, if you do, would you watch them on a streaming service? Or maybe you can watch something that you can get your hands on. Or, if you guys like watching original content that these streaming services like to provide, even if their original content is even considered an original product that is just an existing IP, well, you're in luck. I don't know if you guys heard of this streaming service. It's been around for about 20 years, I think. It's called Netflix. Yep, Netflix has a lot of great original content such as shows, movies, and even games for some reason. Yeah, pretty sure no one even plays games on Netflix, even though it is a streaming service mostly used for movies and shows. No one chooses to watch Netflix to play a video game. But anyways, Netflix originals are mostly hit or miss in my opinion. Like, you can watch some of the best original content Netflix has to offer, or maybe some that people are genuinely just curious what original things that Netflix put out. Or some are just bad. Well, agree or disagree, Netflix will always have something special on their service that people will absolutely love, no matter what. Well, I want to talk about one movie that's been on Netflix that has also been in the back of my mind for as long as I can remember. And I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it, and I think it should deserve more respect. That movie is none other than Arlo the Alligator Boy. I bet you have never even heard of this movie. It was released in April 2021, which isn't that long ago. Directed by Ryan Kriego, it's an animated Netflix movie about this alligator boy named Arlo. He sets off in an adventure to find his long-lost dad in New York, and meets some friends along the way. That's basically the most simple premise that I can give you for this movie. From what I remember, I heard some announcements and maybe one clip of the movie a few months before the movie was released, and I was somewhat interested in it, but it emptied out of my mind for a while and I never thought about it again. But fast forward to April 17th, 2021, one day after the movie was released, I was scrolling through Netflix and saw that Arlo the Alligator Boy is out. Well, I finally decided to give it a watch. And guys, this might be one of my favorite animated movies that Netflix has put out. You guys had no idea how much I loved this movie when it released. I started drawing him a lot because I just really loved the style. The characters are all just so likable and charming. And one more thing about this movie, it's a musical. Spoiler here, the music is my favorite part about this movie. Now, I don't want to get into it now, because if you can't tell by the length of this video, I'm gonna talk about the whole movie, and also try to review it the best I can. So if you guys don't want to hear any spoilers and you want to go into this movie sort of blind like I did, check it out on Netflix. Well, if you can. But anyways, sit back and let's talk about the movie, Arlo the Alligator Boy. So we start off in New York, in the sewers, and we are shown a baby carrier sailing across the ocean and no one seems to be concerned about it. Or maybe they're just blind, I don't know. But anyways, I do like this opening and I like that you don't see what's in the baby carrier. I mean, it's obvious what's in it, but it makes you question what the character will look like. But that's all I have to say about this scene. Anyways, it washed up to this house showing this old lady named Edme, showing us our first look at Arlo as a baby. Aww. We go forward in time and Arlo is a full-grown alligator boy. And we start the first song of the movie, Arlo singing about how he wants to go out into the world and wants to see more out of it. Hence the song called More, More, More.
But I want more, 'cause I know that I can have it.
Arlo is voiced by an American Idol singer, Michael J. Woodard, and I just really like his performance as this character, and his singing voice kinda makes sense in this role, because, you know, he was in American Idol. The one thing I liked about this is how well animated this sequence is. This movie has a lot of great 2D animated sequences for the songs. It's so smooth and it's just really nice to look at. When I first heard this song, I was like, wait, this music actually sounds kinda good. Are we really gonna have a good soundtrack throughout this whole movie? Anyways, our next scene is where Edmei has this small celebration with Arlo on his 15th birthday. Yeah, he's 15 now. Then she tells Arlo the truth about where he actually came from. New York City.
I'm from New York City?
I actually really like their relationship in this movie, even though they interacted just in this opening setup. Edmei tells Arlo that his dad is still out there, and found out that he lives in New York City. Just his dad. They sort of imply that Arlo has a mom, but I think this clip sort of speaks for itself for that question.
Mother of child. There's no name listed. That's sort of funny, isn't it, Edmei? A mother without a name?
I actually think it's pretty funny. Anyways, we move on to the next scene, or in fact the next song of the movie, and this is my favorite song out of the entire movie.
I stand here now, thinking beyond these walls.
When the first time I heard this song, I guess I just felt really fascinated with the melody, the beat, and the vocal performances. It made me feel good to a degree. This song is about Arlo questioning what to expect when he leaves his little house swamp, and not caring of what people think of him when he goes to the world. I really love this song, but it's not as well animated as the previous one, but I'm not complaining too much. But anyways, Arlo goes to his Edmei the next day, and Arlo is ready to set off to his adventure to find his long-lost dad, and Edmei is not going with Arlo. She's like, "This is your adventure, but I belong here." Yeah, she's definitely not concerned about what people are gonna do to Arlo. A walking, talking alligator and just expect people are going to be okay with it? Anyways, Arlo makes it to land, takes this couple's car, and discovers the magic of a sugar rush. I wonder how he will experience the magic of... Never mind. Then we are introduced to our first and only subplot for the film, where these two broke farm attractions, as they call themselves in the film, named Stucky and Ruff. I had to look up their names, by the way. Their subplot is that they want to capture Arlo so that they can turn him into an attraction so people can pay money to see him. Like, how do you make a profit out of him? Anyways, I think this subplot felt kind of unnecessary and overall wasn't really interesting. I mean, this movie didn't really need a whole villain capturing an animal subplot, because I feel like that's kind of way overdone in previous films. Like, that's a subplot for like an Everybody's movie. Does that actually happen in those movies? I don't know, I've never seen them before. I don't think it's bad, but it just wasn't really interesting to me. Anyways, while Stucky and Ruff attempt to capture Arlo, we then meet our next character, Birdie. She's a strong and tall woman, she fights off the two villains, she saves Arlo, and both run away on a train. I think Birdie's character in this movie didn't really make too much sense to me. She implied that she has to keep moving and just wants to be by herself, and it didn't really explain why she felt that way. Like, did something happen? But I really do like her relationship with Arlo. Their bond throughout this movie is just really sweet and I adore it. And it's probably one of my favorite parts about this movie. Then we move on to the next part of the movie. Arlo and Birdie stop by this farm where we see people wrestling or fighting. And you can already tell that we're gonna have some side characters in the movie, just by the way they introduce these characters. We got Felicia, Teeny Tiny Tony, and the cat lady Aaliyah, who doesn't seem to know how to drive. You couldn't have let literally anyone else drive. Oh, and then we got our last side character of the movie, Marcellus, a human fish. That just so happens to be a part of their friend group. Now, these side characters aren't bad, but their existence in the movie also didn't really felt necessary as well. They don't really add too much to the story, they're just there so they can give Arlo some friends, as well so they can have some conflict for the Netflix sequel series. Oh, did I forget to mention that they made a series out of this too? I'll talk about that later. Anyways, they stop by at a beach just to get some shut-eye. Later, Arlo sees Birdie by the ocean. She tells Arlo that she can't be around the same people for long, or to specify, she's not used to being around the same people for long, which still doesn't explain a lot with her character, which, now that I think about it, explains later in the movie why she wanted to keep moving away from people. But we're not there yet. We then get our next song about wherever Birdie goes, it's her home. We get a duet with Arlo and Birdie.
Never be alone.
And this is another song that I also really like. The animation sequence in this song is really well animated. Like, out of the entire movie, the animation in this sequence is so smooth and it just flows really well. You can tell that I'm geeked out about the animation in this movie. I really can't help talking about it. I really like it. Arlo and his friends finally made it to New York City. They all explored the city for a minute, and I think this bit is kind of funny. As the characters are exploring the city, they foreshadowed that each of the characters are probably gonna have their own little subplot for an upcoming sequel series that I mentioned. Arlo's dad is nowhere to be found, but then they stumble across one of the big screens in Times Square. I'm assuming that's where they are in the city. That they find Arlo's human dad on one of the screens. Oh, I forgot to mention that earlier in the movie that Arlo knows how to find him because Ed May gives her this birth tag which also has his last name on it. He didn't know he had a last name and that his last name is Beauregard, so if he finds the same person with the same last name that Arlo has, then that's how he's gonna be able to find his dad. Just wanted to mention that. Anyways, Arlo's dad is named Ansel, a rich entrepreneur guy, and that's really all I know about him, to be honest. The gang finds out where he lives, and Arlo is the only one that's gonna see him, because, you know, this is Arlo's adventure to begin with. Then later, Arlo finally meets his dad. Finally, after all of these years, Arlo finally meets him. We could finally close this movie out with a good ending. I mean, that's what I would say. Then Ansel is confused by this, so we start to get the question of, is this really Arlo's dad? I mean, they're obviously gonna answer that by the end. Anyways, Ansel shows Arlo his plan to rebuild his hometown that he used to live growing up when he was a kid. We then get our next song of the film about Ansel singing to Arlo about how good it is to be rich and how it's a better life, hence the name of the song.
Change yourself. You got to unstrange yourself.
I mean, I think that's what he's singing about. But the song itself actually isn't bad. At first when I heard this, I wasn't really vibing it like the other songs were, but over time it really grew on me. I really like the song. After that musical number, Ansel just sort of kicks Arlo out and answers for him that he's not his dad. So how does Arlo react to this? You guessed it, we get another song. It's a short one this time. A reprise of the previous song and the one from earlier in the movie, Beyond These Walls, about how his expectations were not what he expected when he arrived. I also like this song. It's just the vocal performances from Michael J. Woodard that I really like. But I like it on the same level as the next song that's about to play. Arlo gets streamed away into the sewers and sings about his feelings on all of the relationships that he had throughout this movie has really taken a toll on him and wanted those feelings to go away. At least that's what I know why he's singing here. I also really like how well animated this is. I say that to every one of the song sequences, but I really don't care. I can't help it. It just looks really good in my opinion. Later on, Arlo washes up on shore, and Birdie and Arlo have a little moment to each other about how Birdie tells Arlo that being different is the best way people can accept him. It's a bit of a cliche moment, but I actually think it's a bit wholesome. With the original score that's in the movie, which I also really like. It has this calm feel to it that just really vibes with the movie. Anyways, we soon found out that where Arlo and his friends washed up on was Ansel's, Arlo's dad, small hometown where he grew up. This small town is called Seaside by the Seashore, if you were curious. Arlo is like, wow, can't believe they're gonna tear it down. It would have been nice for a good living condition though. Arlo has another chance to go up to his dad again, but this time, his friends got his back, and found out that he's gonna be at this gala thing. I don't know too much about fashion. They all break in, and coincidentally, the two farm attractions showed up at the gala too, with a giant muscular dog. Oh yeah, these two have this creature throughout the movie that has been vaguely shown to make it look like this dangerous thing that's gonna do to Arlo, and they reveal it here. Thought I'd mention it, but their subplot honestly don't really matter in my opinion. Anyways, while Ansel gives his announcement about responsibility, what he says, then Arlo interrupts the gala party, and you know what he does? You guessed it, we got our second to last song of the movie. We get this duet between Arlo and Ansel about each other on how there was something missing inside of them that they couldn't share.
Will I find out who I am? Will you see me and remember? Hey yo, don't you see me? Here I am. Don't you see me? Don't you see me? Here I am.
Just to point this out, I don't have a thing about understanding music and the message that they share, but I figured for this video, I thought I would give my best to give out the best understandable message of the music that they're trying to execute. But the song itself, it's a nice one. That's all I'll say about it. Anyways, Arlo tells Ansel the one question that we, the audience, have been questioning throughout this whole movie. Is Ansel really Arlo's dad? But they both get interrupted by the two farm people, and they just drag Arlo away with him and just leaves Ansel there. Now we're in the climax of the movie. As Arlo is being dragged away, Birdie tries to save him, but then gets attacked by the dog monster. I don't think this dog monster has a name. But as both Stucky and Ruff try to run away with Arlo, something flies above and soars in to save Arlo. Wonder who this character is. Well, you wanna know who it is? It is none other than Ansel Beauregard. Yep, he is a Birdman. Now, I wasn't expecting this when the first time I watched it. Oh, I guess I spoiled his secret here. Ansel just looked like any other normal guy, so that was a surprise for me. Then, we finally got our answer. Ansel is in fact Arlo's dad. Ansel shares his backstory about his hometown where he used to grow up in. He explains that he was bullied a lot as a kid because of his bird limbs, and he hides his true self for all of these years, and thought if he was successful enough, he will prove everyone wrong about his appearance. But when he had Arlo, and saw that he was an alligator boy, he gave him away because he claims that people will question him why he looks like that, and was scared to reveal his true self. But he was wrong and apologizes to Arlo for leaving him. Dang, you went through all of that just to keep your reputation? But they make up at the end. And the two villains decide that they're not going to capture Arlo anymore. Now you see why their subplot didn't really matter too much. Anyways, we finally got our conclusion of the film. Arlo has a family of his own that he made on the way throughout this whole movie. And Ansel offers Arlo, instead of tearing down his old hometown, they can build it back up and make it their home. Then, we've got our final song of the film.
We all need someone to hold us up, to help us on. We make each other better.
We get a montage of Arlo and his friends rebuilding Seaside by the seashore to make it their home. And then they just decide to keep the dog monster. Maybe put a safety hazard on it, you know, just in case. Finally, we end the film of Birdie and Arlo standing on the ocean and finally calling it their home. And with that, that is Arlo the alligator boy. Oh yeah, then we get this mid-credit scene where Edme receives a letter from Arlo, and she's happy that Arlo finally found where he belongs. Oh, and if you're wondering how I feel about the sequel series, I think it's fine in its own way. It's not as special as the movie in my opinion, but if you guys are curious on how it follows up, then give it a watch if you really like the movie that much. Now, I'm gonna get a little personal here. Before this movie came out, I was 16 at the time. I was very self-conscious about still liking animated movies, because I thought at that age, it was time to grow out of it. But when this movie came out, it really showed me that animation is not just a genre for kids, but instead a medium for everyone to enjoy. I hear that term a lot when people talk about the animation industry, but I really felt that, and this movie really showed me that. I did mention some of the flaws of this movie, how the villain subplot wasn't necessary, and some of the side characters don't really add much to the story, but they were all still charming in their own way. But at the end of the day, this is just a really charming movie that I will adore at the end of time. There are Netflix animated films that are better than this, but personally, this is just a really sweet animated film that I would highly recommend. And it sucks that we don't get to see any more Arlo stuff after the movie and the series. Heck, not even the series was even renewed for a season 2. It's kinda sad that they left it off like that. Like, did the movie and the series really had a poor reception that it didn't even get renewed for like anything. Like, I would like to see more out of this franchise, but I guess it was just a limited thing that they had around that time. I don't know. But still give it a watch to get the whole experience. Unless Netflix didn't give up on you, then find another way to watch it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this long overview of the movie. If you want, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. With that, I'll see you guys next time.